over the last few years, it's really felt to me as though marketing has become a lost art. A lost art in the sense that so much of the marketing we see today looks exactly the same. It's like carbon copies of carbon copies of carbon copies of carbon copies. So the question I had was, what would happen if marketing was no longer a lost art? If people regained, reconnected, and understood what it takes to actually do effective marketing. Whether it's effective marketing for you as an individual, if you're looking to elevate in your workplace, whether it's marketing for you as a business owner or for your business, if you're someone like many of my clients who's looking to elevate in terms of your revenue creation and generation, whether it's even just marketing in the sense of re-releasing or releasing a product, brand, service to the marketplace, which you want the marketplace to comprehend what it is you have to ascend in a way where you don't spend too much time trying to defend. All right, you guys know I love rhyming, so it is what it is. Anyway, let's jump into this. So marketing is a lost art. So the question is, what is marketing? Now, very simply, marketing has a very interesting, simple definition. The simplest definition of marketing is telling everybody what you do. The challenge we have is not that there are not enough people telling everybody what they do. We actually have an over spillage of content on probably every platform out there, including this one. But the real challenge is how people tell everybody what they do. Okay, we've come to a place where most of the people now attempting to tell everybody what they do are telling everybody what they do the way they saw someone else tell everybody what they do, rather than thinking for themselves, how do I tell everybody what I do? So what I'm going to do for you in this video is I'm going to share with you the 3 bedrocks, the 3 cornerstones, the 3 key elements that literally make marketing make sense. And these are super simple, easy to understand, maybe a little bit more difficult to implement. And if you're someone who watches this video to the end and you get value or nuggets, feel free to leave a comment below just to let me know. But side by side with that, if you're someone who's tuned into these videos, you've watched 1 or 2, you're getting value, but you haven't subscribed, it's time to subscribe so you can become part of the tribe, right? But the real essence and element of this is marketing breaks and boils down to 3 core things. If you're someone who wants more support after you hear these 3 things, then feel free to reach out to me with one of the links in the description of this video. The first one is branding. Okay, now branding has been defined in so many different ways. One of my favorite definitions is just the linking of 2 things together. Branding is effectively linking 2 things together. So if you want to link your name with prestige, that may be the conceptual idea of your brand. So all the work you do to link your name with prestige becomes your brand, okay? And your brand is just linking things together. So it's the link between Samuel I Can Win and value, or the link between etc, etc. Okay, you think of the links for yourself because that will be more valuable for yourself. Now, the reason this is so important is because a way to think of branding is how you present yourself. Okay, so if we take that definition, a brand is a link, then what do you want to be linked with determines how you present yourself. How you want to be linked to that thing or that ethos determines how you will present yourself. So branding is all about how you present yourself, okay? And we've got multiple examples in the world of brands that present themselves in certain ways for certain reasons. Now, we may not know those reasons on the outset, but over time, you can start to figure those reasons out as the brand gets set, okay? So when I say get set, I mean like cement. It starts to, solidify. We start to become clearer and clearer on why the brand has certain elements that it has. So that's branding. And branding is effectively super crucial to marketing. Now, many people often ask me, Samuel, is branding and marketing exactly the same? And they're not exactly the same. They're actually very different, but they're deeply connected. And it's because they're deeply connected that people sometimes think they're so connected, they must be the same, right? And just so it said, branding is not your color scheme, it's not your logo, it's not those things, right? So many people have learned from maybe MBA school or marketing school that a brand is your color scheme, or a brand is your logo, or a brand is, the aesthetic lines. That's not a brand, right? A brand is what you're attempting to link yourself with. So Your logo is one of the ways that you may attempt to link yourself with something else. Your color scheme is one of the ways that you may attempt to link yourself with something else. Your whatever it is, your slogan may be one of the ways you attempt to link yourself with something else, but nonetheless, they are not your brand. Your brand is how you present yourself. So it can be your dialect, it can be your accent, it can be the words you choose to use more often and the words you eliminate from your vocabulary for the sake of your brand, for the sake of linking you to the thing you desire to be linked to and unlinking you from anything you do not desire to be linked to. Hopefully this is making sense. Now, if you understand that your brand is what you desire to be linked to, so the ethos around your brand is how you present yourself, then this literally connects to the conceptual idea of marketing easily. Because if marketing is telling everybody what you do and your brand is how you present yourself, then your brand is how you go about telling everybody what you do. Okay, how do I present myself in order to tell everybody what I do? And that's the connection between the two. So I often say this because I think this is helpful. You can have an amazing brand and that will always benefit your marketing. But if you do effective marketing, that will not necessarily develop your brand. That will not necessarily improve your brand, okay? So you may get a lot of awareness from doing effective marketing, but if you aren't working on any branding the way you purposely desire and decide to present your brand, you're going to have a problem. You're literally going to have a bottleneck. And there's many, like, I don't want to call them brands because they're probably not brands, but there are many business owners out there. There are many people attempting to get into business out there who are really great at marketing and really poor at branding. And there's equally many people out there who are really great at branding and really poor at marketing, okay? And the key is to get the sweet spot of the two of them. Now, I can say this right now, hands up. I am not a GOAT standing for greatest of all time. I don't know why they use GOAT for that, but it's an acronym, so it is what it is. But I'm not a guru or a GOAT or anything like that in marketing or even in branding, right? I use these things for the purposes of my business, and that's how I know about them. I've been studying them for over 11 years in terms of books, in terms of execution, in terms of my email marketing, in terms of my content creation, in terms of so many things, coaches that I've learned from in very high ticket mastermind programs, just to discover like, what are the real cheat codes of marketing? And there are many of them because, as I often used to say when I was a teacher, I brought this same conceptual idea and mindset into my business, and that is everything works if it's done properly. Okay, so in the world of marketing, some people say, hey, you just want to use chatbots. Okay, and if you don't know what chatbots are, they're basically an AI engineered conversation that takes place inside of the direct messages. Okay, and the reality is, yeah, chatbots do work. I've used chatbots successfully in the past. However, they work if you do them properly, okay? And other people might say, no, you just want to use ads on one of the particular platforms, the red platform or the blue platform, who knows? But the reality is, yeah, ads do work on the red platform and the blue platform, but it's whether you do it properly. So that's my stance on the different marketing tactics you can use, that all of them work if you do them properly. Now, a great question to ask, if you understand the conceptual idea I've given you about branding and you understand how marketing is overarching, is what marketing tactics marry my ideal brand presentation the best. So for example, I don't think I've ever seen a Lamborghini advert on a television, right? So a television advert is a marketing tactic, right? And the Lamborghini family group don't believe, because they've never used that, from my knowledge, they don't believe that a television advert tactic is the best congruent link for them to present the link they want to provide to their ideal audience. All right, so for their brand, they don't use television adverts. Okay, and I want you to think about branding and marketing and their connections like that as you're thinking about your branding and your marketing and your business, or the people of the businesses that you serve or help or assist as well. All right, so that's branding. That's the first piece of the puzzle as we talk about marketing. That's one of the congruent fulcrums that if we learn to leverage, we will have exponential results in our marketing. The second one is broadcasting. Okay, how do you get your message across? Do you broadcast via email? Do you broadcast via a live stream? Do you broadcast in some other fashion? How do you get your message across? Okay, do you broadcast via SMS? Do you broadcast via adverts? Okay, social media ads, etc. Whatever your answer to that is your answer to that. But here's another thing. If you don't have anything in place with that, a great thing to do to start is, again, ask that question we asked earlier. What are the best broadcasting methods that are congruent with my desired brand? If you want your brand to be linked to prestige, and you assume that Lamborghini, for example, has a level of prestige, and Lamborghini, don't run television ads, then you might say to yourself, well, similar to the way Lamborghini doesn't run television ads, I'd like to not run television ads because I'm equally prestige just like them. Okay. Now, again, this is not me giving you a marketing strategy or framework. This is more so me helping you understand how to think through how branding and marketing can work for you. Okay, so marketing is the overarching premise that we're attempting to attack, and the way we want to attack this is first with branding, how we present ourselves, but then secondly with broadcasting, what we say of ourselves. Now, it's important to share these couple distinctions. The first one is what we say of ourselves is not the same as what we say about ourselves. Okay, there are many people out there who talk about themselves a lot. I do this and I do that, and I can help you with this and I can help you with that, right? And that's what a person's saying about themselves. That's very different to what a person says of themselves. So what's the difference, Samuel? Well, what you say of yourself can be inferred by what you say, okay? Which actually means you don't actually have to talk about yourself in order to have something said of yourself, okay? So one of the things I recently did is I decided to go live for 5 days in a row, okay? And the actual reason behind that is completely wacky. I haven't shared it with anyone, so I'll just share it with you on this video, right? We hit the 1st of April, which quote unquote the world calls April Fool's Day. And Fools, Fools, is 5 letters. And I thought to myself, well, why have one day where people act a fool and make stupid jokes? I'm very big on wisdom, so I was like, okay, let's take each of the letters of fool and each of the of fools, and each of those days, each of those letters will equal a day that I'm going to add value to a community absolutely for free. So I decided to do 5 days of lives as a result of that. Now, that's a way that I'm broadcasting a message. That's a way that I'm getting to broadcast my brand, okay? Because I'm deciding to show the way I present myself on a live stream broadcast for multiple days at a time, okay? 5 days in a row, specifically in this example. And I've done stuff like this in years past before for longer times, not usually for 5 days, but for, we did a live show weekly, The Strategy and the Storm, which became the Impact Property Show, every single week for 77 weeks. We did 14 Days of Purpose on my other YouTube channel. That was again 14 days in a row. And we did the 21 Days of Property Investing Success. That was around the time of the CV-19 lockdown, where a lot of people needed help. So for 21 days, I literally went live and taught 21 success secrets I had learned in my property investment journey. So again, like, these are times where I have decided to broadcast using the live stream feature inside of YouTube to add value to people, okay? So there's ways to say things of yourself without necessarily talking about yourself. And this is something that I see a lot of people get wrong. A lot of people spend more time talking about themselves than saying things of themselves. And this is part of marketing. Marketing is learning how to say things of yourself without necessarily saying things about yourself. So one of the greatest ways you can do this, here's just a quick hack / cheat code / impact tip, is find stories about other people which emphasize the points you want to make, but they've got nothing to do with you, okay? Now, the great thing about most of us as human beings is we have our own stories, or our stories typically come to mind. Or when we tell a story about something which is concerning other people, a lot of the time we're reminded of our own stories. So the great thing about that is that allows us to use our stories to back up other stories, all right? But it's always more powerful to leverage other people's stories, because that removes you from the story. It removes you from having to be the key fulcrum of the story, and it allows people who are watching you to understand, hold on a minute, like, this story is not about them. This is an actual story that is quote unquote impartial to their life, to my life, so we can both observe this story together and then make our own conclusions of this story, whatever they may be. And then after that, if you're backing up those stories with your own stories, what happens now is those stories become deeper and they become more embedded, because those stories are layered. They're not just the story we spoke about, which was general and out there, but now it was the story we spoke about, which was general and out there, which gave us principles or insights we can pull out, and then we can marry those insights with our own stories, which become a layered effect. So it's super powerful when you can layer the effects of things. So the first thing we covered was, if you want to start really focusing on high level marketing, what you should first start doing is focusing on branding. And then secondarily, you should start focusing on broadcasting. Now, the third part is where this gets a bit super ninja. So you might have to fasten your seatbelt and just give me a moment so you can really take this away. But the third thing is focus on borrowing. Now, I know a lot of people, especially if you come from especially if you come from Christian circles, you might be saying to yourself, Samuel, borrowing, like, what's that got to do with marketing? What's borrowing got to do with all the stuff we're speaking about? Excuse me. Well, borrowing's got a lot to do with it. Because in the Bible, for example, there's a verse which says in the book of Proverbs, let the words of another praise you and not your own. All right. So what does that mean? That means we should be borrowing the testimony. We should be borrowing the value add. We should be borrowing the beckos and the beckonings and the echoes of other people's voices about what we can do. Okay. And this is one of the best things marketing can do for you. It's not just about, again, like I said a moment ago, what you say about yourself, but it's actually, this borrowing element is what other people say about you. What are other people saying about you in the marketplace? Now, if we go back to that central section of broadcasting, we know, again, in the Bible, in the book of Proverbs, it says that death and life is in the power of the tongue, and you will eat the one which basically you love the most, right? We also know, if we go back to the branding part of things, it says that in the Bible, this is found in, I wrote this verse down earlier. Let me grab this so I can actually give you the accurate verse. This is found in Proverbs 22, verse 1, right? And I'm going to read this to you so you can see this for yourself. In Proverbs chapter 22, verse 1, it says, a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. So what does this all mean? Well, what this means is your brand is your reputation. Your brand is that good name. Your brand is what you're linked to, right? So your brand is that good name that should be focused on more than the money you make in your business. A good name is better to be chosen, Proverbs 22, a good name is better to be chosen than silver and gold. So that's where we start. We start by understanding I've got to focus first on my name rather than I focus on the financial gain, okay? Then you move into, from branding into the broadcasting, and you start realizing, well, hold on a minute, death and life is in the power of the tongue, and I'm going to eat the one that I love the most. So I have to determine what I'm broadcasting every time I'm showing up. Yes, I can present myself a certain way, but then the question is, what do I say? Okay. And if you want to be a brand that speaks death and speaks about taking, you can do that. But you can also be the converse and be a brand that speaks of life and speaks about making, okay? So there's makers and there's takers. You got to choose which group you want to be in as you start to broadcast, because what you're going to be broadcasting is either a message of how people can make or a message of how people can take. The government, excellent, super powerhouse of taking. God himself, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning, God created. So God's a super powerhouse at making, all right? So just a few gems there. But we start hacking marketing by focusing on our branding. We shift into working on our broadcasting. And then last but not least, we start working on our borrowing. It says, let the words of another praise you and not you yourself, in the book of Proverbs. So what does this mean? This means literally that we go out of our way to add value to people, and we capture what the people say when they respond in light of the value that they received. So you see, one of the things that's super interesting about this is none of this is about talking about ourselves. None of this is about, hey guys, look how good I am. None of this is about, I'm the best, I can beat the rest. None of this is about that, because nobody needs to be your competition when you actually understand the mission. And the mission is to market the way God would have you market and not the way the world would have you market. And that way you don't have to be a carbon copy of anybody else. You can sit back, relax, and finally be yourself. This is Sammy Akinwin. I'm signing out. If you got value from this mini marketing masterclass, let me know in the comments below. If you think I should do more videos on things like this, then let me know also. And side by side with that, always remember, small keys open big doors. And maybe go watch the video I recorded yesterday, which was super valuable as well. Good day, God bless. Let's go.